Well, for a long time, many people thought that their citizenship would make them safe from everything. Even if you committed a crime, you would still be charged. You would still go to jail or prison or pay the consequences, but you would not be deported because you are a citizen. For a long time, many people thought that only happens to green card holders and those who are on visas, and worse, to those who are out of status. Well, citizens, this one is for you. This one is specifically for those who are not born here, but who were naturalized. That means you came into the country and you went through the journey of becoming a citizen. The DOJ has announced plans to prioritize cases to revoke citizenship. Welcome back to the channel, y'all. If you've never been here before, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Click the bell next to the subscribe button so you are notified every time a new video goes up on SouFLoTV. Every time we do another immigration update. We know the immigration landscape in the United States of America is pretty tumultuous right now, and there are lots of changes happening on a regular basis. Well, we're here to keep you up to date on these changes. We are not immigration attorneys. We just source the information and bring it to you. Anybody who's listening to any video we've done on immigration and you're having issues along those lines, please contact a professional. Please contact somebody who is learned in this area, an expert, an immigration attorney, advocate. The Justice Department is aggressively prioritizing efforts to strip some Americans of their citizenship. Department leadership is directing its attorneys to prioritize denaturalization in cases involving naturalized citizens who commit certain crimes, and giving U.S. attorneys wider discretion on when to pursue this tactic, according to June 11th memo that was published online. This move is aimed at U.S. citizens who were not born in the United States of America. According to data from 2023, close to 25 million immigrants were naturalized citizens living in the United States of America. At least one person has already been denaturalized in recent weeks. On June 13th, a judge actually ordered the revocation or taking away of the citizenship of a person that goes by the name of Elliot Duke, who uses they, them as pronouns. We just went through that the other day. Him, her, she, he. People were people were identifying as whatever they wanted to identify as, right? Under the previous administration, you were free to identify as whatever you chose. I identify as he, him. This person identified as they, them, as their pronouns. And you would actually even get in trouble for it, for speaking to someone using other pronouns. That's neither here nor there. This person, Elliot Duke, who used the pronouns they, them, just got denaturalized, citizenship taken away. Duke is actually an American military veteran, originally from the UK, but came to the US and got citizenship and served in the military in the US. But Duke was convicted for having disturbing child sexual abuse materials, something they later admitted that they were doing prior to becoming a U.S. citizen. So they looked in his phone, looked in his computers, one led to another, saw these disturbing images, and therefore you were denaturalized. Many people were under the impression that in order for you to lose your citizenship, you had to commit some act of treason or you had to do something so great. The point here is that the list of offenses that can have your naturalization denaturalized or your citizenship taken away, that list is becoming longer and longer. Denaturalization is a tactic that was heavily used during the McCarthy era of the late 1940s and early 1950s, and one that was expanded during the Obama administration and grew further during President Trump's first term. Under the Obama administration, let's make it abundantly clear, Obama's administration was about denaturalizing people who were worthy of denaturalization. In other words, if you rape or molested children, you were a serial molester. That was grounds for your denaturalization. If you were a serial abuser, criminal activities, grounds for your denaturalization. So, it is meant to strip citizenship from those who may have lied about their criminal convictions or membership in illegal groups like the Nazi Party or communists during McCarthyism on their citizenship application. Also, today, if you lied and said you have been no part of any racist organization, you have been no part of any terrorist organization, you have never been a part of any criminal entity, any gang membership, and they find out that you were, after you have been awarded your citizenship can and will be taken away. And this is what this administration is now focused on prioritizing. Assistant Attorney General Brett Ashumate wrote in the memo that pursuing denaturalization will be among the agency's top 5 enforcement priorities for the civilian division, starting now. The civilian division shall prioritize the maximally pursue denaturalization proceedings in all cases permitted by law and supported by evidence, is what he said. The focus on denaturalization is just the latest step by the Trump administration to reshape the nation's immigration system across all levels of government, turning it into a major focus across the multiple federal agencies. That has come with redefining who is let into the United States or who has the right to be an American. Since his return to office, Donald Trump, the president, has sought to end birthright citizenship and also to scale back refugee programs. Birthright citizenship, if you don't know it, is those who were born on American soil are automatically American. The president recently said in a press conference that was actually reserved and written for the children of slaves. So people who come to this country on visas, work visas, whatever the visa may be, and end up getting pregnant and having babies here, those children should not be American citizens. We're not just talking about those who are living in the country illegally and having babies here who are then recognized as citizens, because those are definitely on the list. But those who are here long-term, working, visa gets extended, another visa. For instance, good example, you come over as a teacher and you're on a work visa and you're teaching and working in a school institution here. You met somebody, you fell in love, or maybe you just were frivolous. Either way, you got pregnant. You don't want to give up your teaching position to go back to your country, so you teach throughout your pregnancy, and you're allowed to do so. And then eventually you have that baby. that baby should not be recognized as an American because you are here on a teacher's visa. You are not a citizen. Or they're trying to say now, even permanent residents. Haha, that part. Green card holders, permanent residents, having babies here is what Donald Trump is going after as well. So imagine being here with a green card, trying to build your family, because the green card says that you're supposed to prove that you want to be an American, right? You're willing to assimilate, you're willing to work towards citizenship, you're going to work, be a law-abiding, tax-paying citizen, put down roots here, build a family here. It's the reason why you're not allowed to stay out of the country for too long on a green card. You can't go out and stay out, oh, I'm in the UK for a year and a half on a green card, 2 years on a green card before I come back, right? Right. So imagine them now saying, if you have children here while you are on a green card, those children will take the citizenship of the country you come from. And somewhere along the line, you will have to adjust their citizenship. They too will be given green cards. They're not going to kick you out. This is the plan. You have babies here on green card. Your babies will be given green cards, not automatic citizenship. And this is what the administration is also working on. But immigration law experts express serious concerns about this effort's constitutionality and how this could impact families and naturalized citizens. The DOJ memo says that the federal government will pursue denaturalization cases via civil litigation, and especially concerning MOVE, said Cassandra Robertson, who is a law professor at Case Western Reserve University. Now, in civil proceedings, any individual subject to denaturalization is not entitled to an attorney, Robertson said. There's also, let me say that again, any individual subject to denaturalization in civil proceedings is not entitled to an attorney. You know, when you get arrested and your Miranda rights says if you do not have an attorney, one will be provided for you. Well, in civil proceedings, any individual who is subject to denaturalization is not entitled to an attorney. That means if you want one, you're going to have to fork that money up. There is also a lower burden of proof for the government to reach also. And it is far easier and way faster to reach a conclusion in those cases. Robertson says that stripping Americans of citizenship through civil litigation violates due process and it infringes on the rights that are guaranteed by the 14th Amendment. These are experts that are giving their 2 cents. We all have seen that under this current administration, that really means nothing because people are still getting wrapped up, caught up, however you want to call it. Some people are calling it kidnapped because ICE members are showing up in hats covering their heads, masks covering their faces, and they're grabbing people, arrested, detained. People are still getting all those done to them and are getting deported and now are getting denaturalized. So Robertson says that stripping citizens through this litigation process violates due process and infringes on the rights that are guaranteed by the 14th Amendment. Everybody is now in a frenzy about who has rights under the Constitution and the 14th Amendment. Hans von Spakovsky with the Conservative Heritage Foundation supports the DOJ's denaturalization efforts. I do not understand how anyone could possibly be opposed to the Justice Department taking such an action to protect the nation from obvious predators, criminals, and terrorists. As for the due process concerns, Vaughn said that nothing prevents that alien from hiring their own lawyer to represent them. They are not entitled to have the government and thus the American taxpayer pay for their lawyer. What this means for everybody who is listening, if they come for your citizenship, you are going to have to find your own lawyer because they won't be giving you a lawyer. Therefore, you will have no legal representation. You will get a court process, but how good do you know the law to represent yourself at a court proceeding? Now, that is not a due process violation, since all immigration proceedings are civil matters and no individual, including American citizens, are entitled to government-furnished lawyers in any type of civil matter. In a criminal matter, you are guaranteed an attorney. If you can't have one for yourself, one will be appointed unto you according to the Miranda rights. However, in a civil suit, you're on your own. The DOJ and the Trump's White House declined to comment on this development. Now, here's a broad criteria. According to this new memo, the DOJ is expanding its criteria, of which crimes put individuals at risk of losing their citizenship. I said that earlier in the beginning. The list used to be very short. The list is becoming longer and longer. That includes national security violations and committing acts of fraud against individuals or against the government, like Paycheck Protection Program loans, PPP fraud, or Medicaid fraud, or Medicare fraud, or scamming on the phone. Hello, this is Mr. James calling from Publishers Clearinghouse. May I speak to Elizabeth McCoy, please? Oh, this is her. Hey, Mrs. McCoy, glad that I could reach you. I have a surprise for you. You have won $2.5 million and a brand new ML350 Mercedes-Benz. That right there, if you are a citizen in the U.S., can get you your U.S. citizenship denaturalized. It is now on the list. Again, these have been added to the list, not just treason, but if you are on social media and you are talking about the government of the United States of America in an anti-American way, if you are seen as a threat to democracy, or if you are seen as anti-American, that is on the list. If you are committing acts of fraud or against individual or against the government, if you're doing PPP fraud, check scamming fraud, any kind of fraud, those are on the list as well. Okay. Now, to see that this administration is plotting out how they're going to expand its use in ways that we have not seen before is very shocking and very concerning, said one policy director of the Immigration Legal Resource Center, a national advocacy organization that's providing legal training in immigration law. They're concerned. They're saying that this is just pure wickedness, that the list is expanding on how to take away somebody's, on the list of offenses that they can use to strip you of your citizenship. My SouFLoTV audience, I've already told you this over and over again. When they started with the green card people, I said, your citizenship is next. So for the people who always jump in the comment section and go, as long as you don't commit a crime, you will be just fine. Just stay in your lane, do what you have to do. And that is true. But the list of what is being considered a crime is getting longer and longer. So you have to now be super extra careful. It is kind of, in a way, trying to create a second class of U.S. citizens, really. where you got one set of American is safe, and that's those who are born on this soil and their parents are Americans, right? And they are too born in the country versus those who fought for the privilege to be here. Now, other immigration experts are pointing out to other parts of the guidance, which gives U.S. attorneys broader discretion and determine other eligible denaturalization cases. These categories do not limit the civil division from pursuing any particular case. The memo states that priorities for denaturalization can include any other cases referred to the civil division that the division determines to be sufficiently important to pursue. Steve Lebet, professor at the Northwestern University Law School, said that language appears to grant the federal government wide discretion in deciding who they want to target. Many of the categories are so vague as to be meaningless. It isn't even clear that they relate to fraudulent procurement as opposed to post-naturalization conduct, he said. Another law expert says that when we extend the opportunity for naturalization to aliens, we are granting them a great privilege, the privilege of becoming a U.S. citizen. Quite frankly, I don't think it matters whether someone was a human trafficker or a drug smuggler before they entered the country, while they were applying for citizenship, or after their naturalization. He continued by saying that anyone who has abused the privilege of the opportunity of becoming a U.S. citizen should have their citizenship revoked when they engage in such reprehensible behaviors. Lebet, who has written extensively about denaturalization or taking away citizenship, also raised concerns about the potential impact on families, particularly children whose citizenship was derived through a parent whose naturalization was later revoked. What struck me is the ripple effect that this would have on children who were naturalized through their parents, he said. People who thought that they were safely American and had done nothing wrong can suddenly find themselves at risk of losing their citizenship too, because that is what is in the plans. If you got yours first and sponsored someone else to get theirs, when you lose yours, they will by default lose theirs as well. The DOJ didn't respond to questions about how this could impact children of naturalized parents or what happens in cases where an individual would be left stateless by being denaturalized. So this is a slippery slope, okay? The order to revoke the citizenship of Elliot Duke, the Army veteran who was originally from the UK, that may be one of the first examples of the Donald Trump administration's aggressive denaturalization efforts in Trump's second term. In 2012, while serving in Germany, Duke began receiving and distributing child sexual abuse material through email and through the internet, according to the Department of Justice and their investigations. In January the following year, 2013, Duke became a naturalized American citizen, but revoked their UK citizenship in order to do so. The DOJ filed a legal case against Duke back in February of this year, 2025, in Louisiana, seeking Duke's denaturalization. Now, this is from 2012 and 2013, and in 2025. So what they have done is they have created an office, a team of people who this is their sole job, is to go back, rehash everybody's paperwork, and see where you might have lied, where you might have made a mistake, where you might have said something you should not have said. And they can now prove that that's not so. So they went back and they filed a legal case against Duke in 2025 of February in Louisiana, seeking his denaturalization based on the convictions for child sex abuse material and the failure to disclose this during his own naturalization process. In the months it took to get a decision on their case, Duke tried to get a defense attorney to help him to fight the case, but no attorney would take it. They also told news media that Duke was also unable to travel to Louisiana for the court proceedings. If you commit serious crimes before you become a U.S. citizen and then you lie about them during your naturalization process, the justice system will discover the truth and come for you. This is what they're focused on now. Duke is still trying to determine what options exist for an appeal and how this impacts their current prison term. But for now, Duke is effectively stateless. My heart is shattered when I read the lines of the order. My world broke apart, Duke said. Regardless of the crimes Duke committed, the situation sets a precedent, said Laura Bingham, executive director of the Temple University Institute for Law, Innovation, and Technology. This case sets the precedence. If the government continues to open the question of citizens or citizenship up for people who have already received it, this creates a slippery slope for everyone. Everyone. Citizenship is not supposed to be something that you can continuously open up for some people and you can't for others. In a 2019 report that was co-authored by Robertson called On Civil Denaturalization, she writes that denaturalization was wielded frequently as a political tool in the McCarthy era. At the height of denaturalization, there were about 22,000 cases a year of denaturalizations filed, and this was on a smaller population, so it was huge at that time. The Supreme Court stepped in and issued a ruling in 1967 that said that denaturalization is inconsistent with the American form of democracy because it creates two levels of citizenship. So the United States went from having 20,000 of these cases of denaturalization per year to having just a handful of like one, two, maybe six, very small numbers for years after 1967. This is until the Obama administration, which used new digital tools to find potential cases of naturalization fraud going back decades. It was called Operation Janus. And on Operation Janus, an initiative was launched by immigration and justice officials in the Obama era. They claimed a national security interest in examining potential cases of immigration fraud that could be tied to terrorism. Then you have the Trump's first administration, who sought to significantly expand the government's use of denaturalization and chose to file denaturalization cases against individuals via a civil court rather than criminal court, for all the reasons we explained earlier. In a criminal court, the state is required to provide you with an attorney to defend yourself. In a civil court, you are not guaranteed to be provided legal assistance. You will have to either defend yourself or fork out the money to find a criminal defense attorney to defend you. if they come for your citizenship for some reason or another. Despite her concerns about the new era, Robertson is skeptical how many cases they would apply this to. The thing is that there just aren't many cases that fit within the Trump administration's framework of priorities for denaturalization, is what she said. So if they're really into intending maximum enforcement, I think that they're going to end up doing it, focusing on people who have not committed any serious infractions, or maybe any infractions at all. This is where it gets dangerous. But people for whom there is a possibility that there are grounds to revoke their citizenship, Robertson said. It fits in with the other ways that we've seen immigration enforcement happening under this administration, which is they said in the beginning that they were going to go after criminals only. Now we're seeing children being zip tied right beside their parents. Now we're seeing people getting taken off of their jobs. Now we're seeing people who have no criminal record absolutely whatsoever being taken in, kidnapped, whatever word you want to use, arrested, and deported. So it will be the same for this. There won't be that many who fit into the criminal circle. So they're just going to start hashing through people's stuff, finding things that they think are red flags, and filing a denaturalization packet against you, and you will be forced to defend yourself. This is a lot to take in, okay? This is a lot to take in. I won't say any more. Let's have this conversation. Leave your comments in the comment section below, and I'll catch you on the next video. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button so you're notified every time a new video goes up on SouFLoTV. I'm out. Peace.